Toast to profits.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
You're Rockefeller. How's the petroleum industry, bud?
Thanks for asking, Bandy. It's pretty sweet right now. You know, Standard Oil's pretty much just taking over every other company around. So, higher profits. It's freaking sweet.
Morgan, my man, how's the steel industry doing, dude?
Yo, Carnegie, bro, it's good, dude. Business is quite profitable, actually, man.
Good stuff.
I just arranged a sick killer merger forming General Electric out of Edison General and Thomas Houston Electricity, bro. It's unreal.
Dude, that's freaking sweet.
Yeah.
Originally from Scotland, Andrew Carnegie became one of the leading philanthropists of his age, writing the book The Gospel of Wealth. In 1901, Carnegie sold his steel company to J.P. Morgan for $480 million, forming the U.S. Steel conglomerate.
J.P. Morgan organized the U.S. Steel merger. U.S. Steel was a combination of Carnegie Steel Company, Gary's Federal Steel Company, and William Henry Judge Moore's National Steel Company. J.P. Morgan was the business tycoon who refinanced the railroads during the Depression of 1893. He bought stocks in competing companies in order to create an intersystem alliance.
Morgan also founded the famously self-named financial and investment house, J.P. Morgan and Company. Although now broken into many companies, this company still exists today. Cornelius Vanderbilt was a businessman and philanthropist who made his fortune in the railroad and shipping industry. He served on the board of the Erie Railway, Central Railroad, Hartford and New Haven, and New York and Harlem Railroad companies. He also gave the initial donation to found Vanderbilt University in Memphis. He is considered one of the richest men in the history of America. The richest man in the history of the United States made his fortune in oil. John Rockefeller co-founded the Standard Oil Company in 1870. In the decades following, Rockefeller's company became the leading oil refiner in the country. He was able to do this using horizontal integration, a practice of buying all competing companies in order to form a monopoly. Adjusted for inflation, Rockefeller is said to have been worth $336 billion. These four men helped monopolize their respective industries. Business practices like the interlocking directorate allowed these tycoons to sit on the board of directors for more than one company, making the men and the companies themselves richer. Unfortunately, not all the parties involved were thrilled with new business practices. Labor unrest became more and more common during this time.
I'm sick and tired of working for these tyrants. They don't treat us right.
Same here, bro. They don't give me enough money to support my family, bro.
I know, and such crazy hours.
You know what we should do? We should strike.
Let's go on a strike right now.
Let's freaking strike. We hate you.
During the summer of 1894, the American Railway Union organized a strike against the Pullman Company. The strike brought much of the nation's freight and passenger traffic west of Detroit to a halt. The company had lowered wages, laid off workers, and not reduced rent in the company town of Pullman in Chicago. The federal government was finally forced to use a court injunction to stop the strike. Since the Pullman cars were connected to the U.S. postal cars, the court argued that the strike was getting in the way of a service of the federal government. The strikers did not listen, and the army was called in. Union leader Eugene V. Debs was arrested and sentenced to prison for ignoring the court order. With the failure of the strike, the American Railway Union dissolved.
Work is bad.
More guap.
Work is bad.
More guap.
You guys are interrupting interstate commerce by striking. Get back to work.
What?
Problems at this time went beyond labor unrest. A new form of journalist had emerged to expose the not-so-glamorous side of American life. These were the muckrakers. Upton Sinclair examined the terrible working conditions of the meatpacking industry in Chicago. The horrifying details were put into his book, The Jungle. Jacob Riis was a photographer who exposed the horrible living conditions of the lower classes. He took pictures of cramped tenements and unsafe living environments and published them in his book, How the Other Half Lives. Although remembered as a time of industrial prosperity in the United States, the Gilded Age was, for many, a time of strife. Laborers made little to nothing, and the distribution of wealth was incredibly uneven.
Gone are the days of simple American living. This country is changing for the worse. Americans' values are now misconstrued. Pollution and mistreatment of workers is going to lead to the downfall of this once great nation.